Have you ever thought why sometimes we act differently? Psychologists do the same, resulting in a considerable amount of research on human behavior. Although there are many mysteries and a long way to go before we get the ultimate solution, we have made a list of psychological facts that explain human nature and may shed some light on some of the tendencies you have noticed in yourself and others. These are mind boggling psychological truths you wanna know about. Number 1. Start and endings are easier to recall than what is between. According to one research published in Frontier Human Neuroscience, when asked to recall the items from a list, people are far more likely to think of things at the very end or from the very start, which might explain why you recall your boss finishing up a presentation but not the middle. Number 2. We are more worried about a single individual than about a big disaster. As per a University of Pennsylvania research, one group read about a small girl who was starving to death, another group read about millions of people dying of hunger, and a third group read about both circumstances. When people heard about the little girl, they donated more than twice as much as when they heard about the disaster. And even those who heard her story in context of the bigger tragedy, psychologists believe that we are designed to help the individual in front of us, but when the crisis feels too huge, we believe that our small contribution is insignificant. Number 3. Plan A is less likely to succeed if we have a backup plan. It negatively affects being prepared every now and then. In another experiment conducted by the University of Pennsylvania, researchers discovered that when participants made a backup plan before beginning a task, they performed worse than those who had not made a plan B. Furthermore, when they understood they had choices, they lost the incentive to achieve the first time. The researchers indicate that planning ahead of time is a good thing, but you may be more effective if you keep your intentions unclear. Number 4. Some people like watching others outrage. According to University of Michigan research, people with high testosterone remember information better when it linked with an angry face instead of a neutral or no face, indicating they considered the furious look satisfying. According to researchers, it might indicate some individuals love seeing others glare at them, as long as the flare of rage doesn't last long enough to be a threat. Number 5. We believe that future is always bright. According to a study published in Current Biology, whether you like where you are now or not, most of us has an optimism bias that make us believe that future will be better than the present. We expect to grow in our jobs, never get divorced, have cute children, and live up to a ripe old age. These may not be realistic for everyone, but there is no harm in fantasizing. Number 6. What happens to us in our teen years stays with us forever. Have you ever noticed how much your mother likes to talk about what happened to her in her 20s? Have you ever thought why people still love stories about their teenage? Our preference for recalling memories from our teen years is known as reminiscence pump, and it may be due to the various changes we go through during that time, and our mind tend to remember changes more than boring times. Number 7. Writing by hand makes kids smarter. Despite the fact that life is becoming more digital, psychologists suggest that handwriting should remain a component of our curriculum. It appears that children who write by hand learn and recall more than those who use a keyboard. It might be because handwriting engages more senses, which assists in the formation of connection between different sections of brain. Number 8. Memories are more like jigsaw puzzles than precise pictures. Even those with excellent memory can have false memories. The mind generally keeps the idea of what happened, then fills in the rest, sometimes incorrectly, which explains why you swear your friend was with you at a club 6 years ago, even though she insists she wasn't. Number 9. Too many options can be overwhelming. Researchers have criticized the paradox of choice theory, claiming that it hasn't been proven in research. However, there is some evidence suggesting our brain prefer a few alternatives over a wide range. When single that speed dating event saw more people with a wide range of demographics such as age and employment, they picked fewer potential partners. Number 10. Different cultures process information in different ways. Multiple studies have shown that when watching a scene, most Americans focus on the visually most prominent acting item, whereas East Asian focus on the background information. This indicates that those of us from East Asian civilizations have always seen people and objects in connection to their surroundings. Number 11. It's not only about how much money we make, it's also about how we spend it. Even if you haven't reached your ideal income yet, money might still influence your happiness. You have certainly heard that spending money on experiences rather than stuff makes us happier since it allows us to mingle and feel more alive. Number 12. People who enjoy dark humor have higher IQs. People who love dark humor in particular were proven to be smarter than their less witty friends. They had better verbal and non-verbal intellect, and they were less aggressive than persons who did not enjoy dark humor. Wanna know more interesting facts? Sub to the channel will be helpful. Also don't forget to press the bell icon. Now let's get back to the video. Number 13. Long-term deadlines are not as significant to our brains. Almost everyone has slacked at some point, even if we know that it makes more sense to get a head start on our work than to watch Netflix. We favor urgent, unimportant things because we know we can do them. There is also evidence that we view the deadline approaching in terms of days instead of months or years. We feel more linked to passing of time on day-by-day basis. Number 14. We will always find a way to make things worse. Have you ever wondered when one problem is solved, another one arises? It is not that universe seems to be against you, but your mind may be. In a study conducted by David Levray, participants were asked to identify threatening-looking persons among computer-generated faces. After his study, he wrote, "As we showed people fewer and fewer threatening faces over time, we found that they expanded their definition of threatening to include a wider range of faces. In other words, when they ran out of threatening faces to find, they started calling faces threatening that they used to call harmless." Number 15. Fear may be fatal. According to experts, sudden death caused by the fear is caused by the chemical damage to the heart. Intense fear can cause your body to release an excessive amount of adrenaline, affecting only the heart. Adrenaline in excess is dangerous for the heart. Adrenaline causes calcium to enter the heart, triggering irregular heartbeats, and if not treated quickly, can lead to instant death. Think twice before scaring someone with a phobia. Number 16. The majority of your decisions are made subconsciously. Do you make your decisions by yourself, balancing all of your possibilities and assessing the consequence of each outcome? You may believe you are, but you are incorrect. The majority of your decisions are made subconsciously, since your conscious mind would be overloaded with information and you would likely become mentally paralyzed. This is because your brain gets around 11 million bits of information per second, and there just isn't enough brain power to process it all consciously. Number 17. There is a saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You may have heard about Stanford's infamous prison experiment, in which college students were randomly selected to be either a prisoner or a guard in a fake prison, and the guards began harassing the prisoners, leading to the 2-week experiment being stopped after 6 days. That may seem excessive, but subsequent research has shown that when people believe they are in a position of power, they become worse at assessing a person's emotion based on their expression, showing a loss of sympathy. Number 18. Food may not be as important to us as a social interconnection. Maslow's hierarchy is most likely incorrect. According to his hierarchy of human needs, at the most fundamental level, we are led by basic psychological instinct to survive. And only once these needs are met, we can go on the higher ones such as social ties and self-actualization. However, the latest studies indicate that our most basic desire is for belonging and connection to other humans. This is what drives us to participate in self-preservation and self-fulfillment activities. Number 19. What we say first is what others remember. First impressions matter more than you realize. Scientists have found this in many parts of life, mainly when convincing people. Therefore, you should not be scared to speak up first. People tend to remember the initial argument for a longer period of time, and they also have a bigger effect on your views. Bonus fact: some of us can smell colors, see the shape of emotions, or hair shapes. This interesting neuropsychological phenomena is called synesthesia. People who have experienced it are more likely to be born with it.